So you've created new pages with some content on it, and now you're wondering if your website users are actually engaging with any of those new pages. Well, that's what engagement metrics are trying to measure in Google Analytics 4. So I'll go through all of them and explain why and who should be using the engagement metrics. So let me first explain what the engaged session means in GA4. As per Google Analytics, an engaged session means that a session lasted at least 10 seconds or had at least one conversion event, which means an event that you've set to be a conversion, or at least 2 page views. So the person visited 2 or more pages on your site. By the way, you can change the 10-second count up to 60 seconds, and I really advise you do it. I'll show you how to do it in GA4 in just a minute, but first let's go through the other 3 engagement metrics. By the way, I'm Robert and I'm here to help you to understand and analyze data to make better decisions in e-commerce. So what does engagement rate mean in GA4? It simply means out of all of your sessions, how many were engaging. So one of these actions that I mentioned earlier. Simple as that. The higher the number, the more people did something on the site instead of just leaving without any action. Google defines the engagement rate as engaged sessions divided by the total number of sessions over a specific time period. If you had 100 engaged sessions and 200 total sessions, your engagement rate would be 50%. Now, if you're familiar with the old GA or Universal Analytics, we used to have a bounce rate. In GA4, the bounce rate has been replaced by the engagement rate. But engagement rate is the opposite of bounce rate. So if you have 70% engagement rate, that means your bounce rate would be something like 30%. They are not completely the same, but very comparable. By the way, data is not created equal, and you should be only looking at the data that is relevant to your role. That's why I've created a cheat sheet which shows you the most important metrics and KPIs specific to different e-commerce roles. You can download it by clicking on the first link in the video description. Then we have the average engagement time, and it simply takes into account the duration of engaged sessions on average. Now the cool thing is that GA4 is able to detect if the user has the page in the foreground of their browser. So if somebody has landed on your website but immediately switches to YouTube to watch their favorite channel, her session duration is not increasing until she brings your website back into the foreground of her browser. To calculate the average engagement time, you need to take the total engagement time divided by active users. The active user metric is a bit weird in GA4, so just consider it the same as total users. And then we have engaged sessions per user. This simply tells you how many engaged sessions a user had. In most cases, this will be a number below 1. That means you have more users than engaged sessions. I see engagement metrics as most useful for text-heavy pages, like articles or blog posts. Because let's face it, if someone spends time on your page actively reading it, then that to me is a good sign they liked it. In addition, this metric also takes into account if someone went to another page on your site, plus any conversions you might have, like email sign up, and it's all bundled in one metric. That's why I would use the engagement rate as my primary metric, and when you do updates to your page, just see if you can increase it. And as a secondary metric, I would use average engagement time just to see how long are we able to keep the user on our site or a page. And one thing I would like to point out that I would use these metrics per pages because the total number is not very useful, but when you're comparing article to another article, then it gets more interesting. Now let's next change the 10-second engaged session parameter in GA4. So head to your admin dashboard, then click on data streams under property, and again just click on this one. Then find configure tag settings, which is here right now. And then you need to click on show all, and in here you can see adjust session timeout. If you click on it, you can adjust both session timeout and also the timer for engaged session. So I'm gonna just select 60 from here and then click on save. And I would increase this timer to 60 seconds to the max because let's be honest, if someone just stayed 10 or 20 seconds on your site, are they really engaging? Maybe they just read the first part of your article and left after 21 seconds. But keep in mind, the higher the number, the lower your engagement rate will be initially because fewer people will be counted as engaged. But it's just a bit more difficult that way, but I would definitely increase it. But look, if you have the data but you don't know where to start with the insights, well, watch this video where I'll show you how to extract insights from e-commerce data.